A little something different today. I just wanted to do an update on some of my most loved fragrances, most favorite fragrances, and what do I think about these fragrances still. These are some of the very first fragrances that I discovered getting into the fragrance community. There's a few that are also a little more recent, but there's a sort of a timeline. I'll tell you around when I discovered these, not necessarily exact date, but some years and things like that. But these are definitely my most loved fragrances, and like I said, I wanted to update you and let you know what I think about them, and this is a great way for you guys to discover some of my most favorite fragrances. And also, I'm going to do a few more videos in this particular style in the coming months. I'll do one with more recent discoveries, and then also one that's classic fragrances. So either way, find out about my most loved, most favorite fragrances coming right up. Thanks so much for tuning in. This is Sebastian with Smelling Great Fragrance Reviews. Yes, today it's all about my most loved, most favorite fragrances. These are some of my just fragrances that I really go gaga over, but a lot of them are very classic, as in not the most recent discoveries, although like I said, there are a few more recent discoveries, but I'm really loving them, so I wanted to feature them here. The thing about these fragrances is you're probably not going to see every single fragrance that I really love in this video, and I also looked back on some of my 10 fragrances for life videos, so I pulled some from those just to make sure that I cover like some of my most loved fragrances. But either way, I'll let you know about them. But before I do, if this is your first time tuning into the channel and you still haven't subscribed, please do click that subscribe button below, and also click the bell so that you'll be notified for future videos and giveaways. So let's jump right into it. But before I do, as I said, I'm going to do a few more themes or a few more videos with similar themes in the future. One of them will be more current fragrances that I really, really love. And then another one I want to do is more classic fragrances, maybe like 2000s and on, like 90s, 80s, maybe even 70s, and what I still think about them. But let's start with the first fragrance. It's from the house of Frédéric MALLE, and it's Portrait of a Lady. And there's two fragrances from this house here in this video, and it's the only house that I have two fragrances of. And Portrait of a Lady is, the story is, if you don't remember it, I walked into Barney's to buy Nasomato's Black Afghano, and somebody was smelling this, and I could smell it, and the sales associate gave me a slip, like a strip with it on it as well. I was like, wow, that fragrance is amazing, I gotta get it. But I'm here to get Black Afghano, so I at the time I was a little broke, not really, financially I wasn't really the place where to spend a lot of money on fragrances, so I saved up a little bit, went back and got the bottle of Portrait of a Lady 2 weeks later. But this is a fantastic fragrance. It's all about spices of cloves with patchouli, incense, rose, a little raspberry thrown in, but a fantastic fragrance. You definitely pick up some cloviness in there as well. I think it's one of the best fragrances ever created. We just celebrated 10 years. It's been around for a good 11 years now, and I think it's still going strong. But recently, in fact, a couple of days ago, I did see some on one of my posts on Instagram, somebody had commented how Frédéric MALLE has kind of gone downhill, all of the reformulations and things like that. Yeah, I think this is, the brand's gone through reformulations and you can totally notice them, but I think this still smells fantastic. In fact, actually, this is a tester that I bought from someone, and I think this is one of the older bottles. From what I remember, the bottles didn't look like this. Either way, I'm happy to have this one. This is Portrait of a Lady from the house of Frédéric MALLE. And the next fragrance I'm going to talk to you about is another Frédéric MALLE fragrance. This is my second love. In fact, it's competing with Portrait of a Lady. It could be my first love. Who knows? But this is MUSC RAVAGEUR. And yes, this one's definitely noticeable with its current version. For me, it's more of a gourmand musk. I feel like the muskiness has kind of like subsided a little bit. It's gone down, and the gourmand touches has increased. And once again, it has spices as well. Both of these have cloves. Both of these, and I love cloves. I love it in tea and in desserts and things like that. But this one is definitely musk. It has that muskiness that I like, but lots of kind of a sweet, resinous, ambery kind of and spicy gourmand touches mixed in there. And I can totally notice that it has Used to be a lot more animalic, now it's not, but still I think I find it to be very great because I love gourmands anyway, and to have a musk that I really like with gourmand, it's a great fragrance. That's why it kind of keeps creeping up and competing with Portrait of Lady as being my favorite Frederic Malle. But either way, this is a great fragrance. Stay tuned for a video about this fragrance very, very soon. I'm doing a comparison with another fragrance that's similar to it. Either way, Frederic Malle Musk Ravageur, an awesome scent. The next fragrance I'm talking to you about is from the house of TIZIANA TERENZI. This is URSA. And this is a great fragrance that I really love and discovered probably 4 years ago, but there was another version of this kind of a fragrance that I liked from by Kilian that I discovered in 2012. I forgot to mention when I discovered Frederic Malle's Portrait of a Lady 2013, Musk Ravageur a few years later than that, but URSA was more like 3-4 years ago, but as I said, by Kilian's Straight to Heaven was something I discovered back in 2012. In fact, I even bought it back then. It was my very first by Kilian. And what I like about URSA in comparison to by Kilian's Straight to Heaven, and speaking of Kilian and also Frederic Malle, who are under Estee Lauder, and people complaining about reformulations and things, and I think because of that, I feel like this fragrance is a lot more oomphier. I feel like the fruits in here come alive, the booziness comes alive, the vanilla actually comes alive, and also the patchouli is really kind of like a beefy interpretations of those notes in comparison to the wimpy interpretations of the notes in that particular fragrance from Kilian. That's what I like about it here, just a beefier fragrance. The thing a lot of people hate about this one though is the leathery touches, and you know, I love it. I think the leathery touches really kind of like enhances all those other notes that I really love in that fragrance. That's what I like about it. There is a actual full video that I have on the channel comparing URSA to Straight to Heaven and Straight to Heaven Extreme, so if you want to find out more about it you can. But this is a great scent, really one of my most favorite fragrances. I just love the combination of the notes, the patchouli with the fruits, the rum, vanilla, and then of course the leather that's in here. Great scent. So that's TIZIANA TERENZI's URSA. The next fragrance I'm talking about is Maison Margiela's By the Fireplace. A great scent, one of my favorites from this house. I think this house has some great fragrances, a great designer, a little pricier designer you know, offerings, but I think there's some solid ones in there, and I think By the Fireplace probably is the best one, at least for me it is, but there's a few others that are creeping in, especially like the latest one, Matcha Meditation, top-notch fragrance created by Maurice Roussel. But here, created by Maurice Salamania, I fell in love with this one probably around 2016, somewhere around there, and since then I'm still a fan of it. And pre-pandemic I used to smell this on a lot of people in the streets here in San Francisco, and so it has a following, and from what I hear from reps for L'Oreal, I feel like they say that they sell a lot of By the Fireplace, and I like that because it's a great gourmand but smoky, and it has you know, like roasted chestnuts, so you know how it gets smoky and burns the shell. That kind of smell is transferred in here, and then the sweet and the smoky together adds a great kind of an experience. That's an awesome release. Maison Margiela's By the Fireplace I think is a solid fragrance from a designer that I think has a huge following, and it's definitely one of my favorite fragrances. The next one, DIOR Homme Parfum. I was not going to put this on the list, but I am, since there is a version of this still available as 100 ml. Still have not compared it, but most of the, or all of the fragrances in this video are fragrances you can still buy, and so you can still buy this one, sadly not very easily here in the States, but the rest of the world, yes, I wanted to feature it because it's still one of my most favorite fragrances. You know, it's such a beautiful fragrance and such an orgasmic smell. Like, the smell is one of the best smells I've ever put my nose on. It's that kind of a fragrance. In fact, I was so obsessed with Dior Homme Intense. When this came out, I was very excited because I was thinking, what are they going to do with this fragrance? You know, what are they going to do with it? So this one I discovered around 2014, and I bought it as soon as it came out, but I had to wait until I went to France because it was not released here, and that's when I bought it in 2014. And since then I've been a fan. It's just the creation is just one of the best creations ever for any fragrance, but for a designer, it's just amazing creation for a designer. I think there has not been this creative a designer release since this came out. At least I haven't seen it in a kind of a signature lineup of fragrances. But what I like about this is because Dior Homme Intense was kind of like this musky, powdery, makeup, lipsticky, iris kind of a thing. And here it's everything that and amplified with a leathery touch. So more makeup, more lipstick, more powdery, more iris, leather, and a little bit of rose thrown in. Muskiness is in there as well. I think it's a heavenly fragrance. Love it. This is Dior Homme Parfum. If you don't know it, do check it out. And hopefully we can soon check out the 100 ml version. This next one used to be in a collection that no longer exists at Guerlain. They moved them all into the this kind of bottle, and this is Bois Mystérieux. I don't know if you guys know the original version of this, which actually somebody gifted me a tester bottle recently without a cap, and I smelled them, and they do smell very close. I haven't compared them really closely, but this right here was more of a recent discovery, late 2018, more early 2019. But I really love it because of its spiciness. It's woody, it's leathery, but there's a lot of green aromatic touches in there. More spicy aromatic rather than herbs, but the combination is just phenomenal. It's a great, great fragrance. Very spicy, very sexy with cumin. The leather is really kind of intense. I feel like it's also a very masculine leaning fragrance. With the notes, it's more masculine, but really, really wonderful offering from Guerlain. I think it's one of my favorite Guerlain fragrances, and definitely the favorite in this bottle collection, which I'm drawing a blank with the name. Check it out. I have a full review of this one, and as I said, this is more of a modern love for me, but really one of my all-time favorite fragrances as of late. And definitely, if you guys don't know it, do check it out if you like spicy, woody, leathery, masculine fragrances. The next one is also from 2019. These are probably the only 2019 loves in this list. Going to the House of Louis Vuitton. It's Afternoon Swim. I speak a lot about this one lately, and I think it's just a very uplifting experience. Sparkly, juicy citruses. It's called Afternoon Swim. You're thinking you're going to be an aquatic, you're going to jump into the swimming pool or beach, water, sea or something, but it's almost like jumping into a pool of citruses, you know? Very sparkly, effervescent experience. Great citruses of mandarin orange, there's bergamot, there's also regular oranges, plus there's ginger and ambergris. So there is a little bit of a muskiness under there, and there's also a little bit of zinginess from the ginger, but the combination is just heavenly. It's almost like you can drink this stuff. It smells that good. And I know that a few of you complain about the price. Yes, it's a little pricey, but I just love the way it smells. It's one of those fragrances that I really, really love the way it smells, and that's why it's one of my all-time favorites since 2019. So that's Afternoon Swim from the House of Louis Vuitton. The next one dates back to about 2013. This is L'Air du Désert Marocain. Now, I was going to feature a Cour de Desert, which came out in 2016 or 2017, but this has been around since the 2000s, and I discovered it in 2013. This is one of my favorite ambers, but a completely different amber, you know? It's a dry, dusty, spicy amber, but on the top, you get a sparkly effervescence from green bitter petitgrain note. There's this green bitterness up top that I really, really love in this, and it contrasts beautifully with the dry, kind of herbal, spicy, aromatic, you know, ambery touches down there, under there. But the great solid release, probably the best fragrance that Tower Perfumes has created, and I just love it. When you smell it, it's great. It's a great scent. As soon as I smelled it for the first time, it was a love at first sniff, one of those kind of fragrances, and I ended up buying it. And I think it deserves it. If you don't know Tower Perfumes, you've got to check this one out. And this is the Eau de Toilette version. I always thought it was Eau de Parfum, but it's Eau de Toilette, go figure. But the Cour de Desert, which is the newer version of this, same scent, a different concentration of perfume. It's a pure perfume or extrait de parfum. It's called a Cour de Desert. Either way, fantastic fragrance from Tower Perfumes, and one of my most loved fragrances. That's L'Air du Désert Marocain. The next fragrance I discovered in 2014 is a fragrance that focuses on patchouli for the pacho. If you're a pacho because you love patchouli, this is definitely one you should try. This is Psychedelique from the House of Jovoy. A great fragrance focusing on patchouli, but it's a really deep, dark experience, but with bright, sweet notes thrown in. It has lots of ambery touches because there's resins thrown in there, and the contrast of those notes and the combination with the patchouli, because it's lots of patchouli here, creates the kind of like a chocolatey, boozy kind of experience running throughout it, vanillic and resinous. But a really, really beautiful fragrance. It's been a love at first sniff ever since I smelled it at the JOVOY boutique in Paris, because that's where I smelled it first. And then immediately I bought a bottle and I love it. I can't get enough of it. So that's Psychedelique from the house of JOVOY. If you don't know it and you love patchouli, you're definitely missing out. The next one I'm talking about is from the house of MONTALE. This is Intense Cafe, this one right here. And Intense Cafe definitely is my favorite MONTALE. Discovered this one in 2014, or it could be 2013, somewhere around the late 2013, 2014, probably 2014 early. But a great, great lactonic rose experience, and it's called Intense Cafe, and you get like maybe very light traces of coffee, if that, in there. For me, it's more like a rose latte experience, very creamy, milky, an ambery base, and you know, light floral touches thrown in there as well, along with the rose note in here. Very, very beautiful fragrance, very Montale-esque, but definitely leans unisex, if not feminine. And I've turned this one on to a lot of folks. A lot of ladies love this one. When they smell it, they really want to have a bottle of it. It's that great for them, and it's for me as well. There is a ristretto version of this now as well, with more coffee, and it's definitely more of a coffee experience, more of like a cappuccino experience, where you have the milk in there still, but you also have a strong, robust coffee smell with the rose. But I think this one's definitely classic. And this one, actually, I should also mention, is featured in my Twisted Lily sample kit. If you haven't checked out my Twisted Lily sample kit, it's this. It's 5 samples that you can pick up from Twisted Lily. There's discounts and all kinds of stuff. You can get it and then put it towards fragrances. And if you've never sampled Intense Cafe, plus another one that's coming up next, it's a great way for you to discover some of my favorite fragrances, which includes Intense Cafe, and as I said, one other fragrance which is coming up next. So it's a great, great collection and a great, great fragrance. I think it's a great, cozy, rosy kind of a fragrance. Definitely one that I really enjoy. But the next fragrance I'm going to talk to you about is from the house of Eccentric Molecules. Molecule 1, definitely one of my all-time favorite fragrances. I discovered it in 2013, but it was a decant that somebody had sent me, and I picked it up, sprayed it on, didn't smell anything, put it away, came back, smelled it, didn't smell anything, tried it again, tried it again, tried it again. Probably about 7, 8 times I tried it. Finally, it came, like I could smell it. But so many of you guys complain about how you can't smell this. It smells like alcohol, there's nothing there. Give it some time, practice with it, keep smelling it, then you'll actually start smelling it, because it smells like woods. Cedar with a little bit of sandalwood is what it smells like to me, and it's ISOE Super, the synthetic molecule that's in here. It's a minimalistic fragrance, and it has a huge following, and this is another one that I've turned on to so many people, and they seem to really kind of like fall in love with it. And I think those are the people that don't like fragrances, or maybe fragrances that are overly intense. They want something, but they don't want a lot. And this is the kind of fragrance they really fall in love with. So I've turned this one on, just like Intense Cafe, to a lot of folks that really do like these minimalistic fragrances. And the other thing that's cool about these fragrances is you can use them as fragrances to layer with, to use them as primers, boosters, and just to intensify your fragrances. I think it would be great. I do have a whole video on that topic. You can go catch it. But either way, this is a great, great scent, Molecule 1 from Eccentric Molecules. And definitely also check out the new versions of these. There's a patchouli version, there's a mandarin orange version, and then there's also an iris version that really adds those notes to this fragrance to give them a little something unique. Either way, Eccentric Molecules, Molecule 1, a solid, solid release. The next one I discovered about 4 years ago from the house of DIPTYQUE. This is BENJOIN BOHEME. One of the best benzoin fragrances ever. Beautiful. Really, really beautiful and sparkly benzoin. Lots of great benzoin qualities in here. It's resinous, it's vanillic, but definitely not vanilla. It does not get a lot of syrupiness, but it's ambery. Plus there's patchouli, and I believe there's some angelica thrown in here. But a beautiful, beautiful fragrance. One of the best from DIPTYQUE. Warm, a little spicy, cozy, vanillic, as I said, but a wonderful wear. I really, really love this one, and glad it's still around because the rest of the collection in these bottles is axed. No more. But if you like benzoin as a note, or you like vanillic fragrances, definitely check this one out. It has vanillic touches, it has ambery touches, but as I said, it's not necessarily syrupy, sickly kind of vanillic, you know, drippy kind of vanilla. It's more of its own thing, but the hints of vanilla are there. What a wonderful scent it is. Diptyque Benjoin Boheme, a wonderful scent. The next one I discovered in 2014, blind bought. Never tried this brand before. Everybody was talking about it. I blind bought it and I love it. I still love it since 2014. This is Parfums de Marly Herod. It's a masculine offering. I think it's unisex for me for sure. There's a fruitiness in there. There's lots of vanillic touches in here. There's also a little nuttiness in there, but it's about not patchouli, what am I saying? It's about tobacco. It's got an ashy tobacco-ish kind of a smell in there, and it's a great, great wear. It's also not the screamer that a lot of other Parfums de Marly fragrances are, so it's a little more on the subtle side, which gives it a kind of a classy edge to it. Plus it's also very sexy. I love the way it smells, and I think it's one of my favorite fragrances, not only from this house but from all houses. I think it just smells really, really great, and I absolutely love it. So that's Parfums de Marly's Herod. If you don't know it and you love tobacco fragrances, definitely check that out. The next one I'm talking about is from the house of XERJOFF. This is Naxos, this one right here. And Naxos is a great scent. I discovered this one probably about 2015. It's a great tobacco experience, and a lot of people compare it to Pure Havane from Mugler, and I see the similarities, but I find Pure Havane to be a lot more syrupy. This one to me is a lot more aromatic, going into the slightly ambery oriental fougere direction, and that's what I like about this one. That's the contrast or difference between the syrupy honey version of the Pure Havane. So there's lots of lavender in here. That's what gives me the kind of aromatic, lavendery, spicy touches to it. But there's honey in here, of course, and there's tobacco once again. And the great thing about this particular fragrance in comparison to other XERJOFF fragrances, this comes in 100 ml for about $230. Maybe it's $250 now. Not really sure what the price is, somewhere around there. But some of their fragrances are 50 mls and about that same price. So this is probably one of the better deals. If you like Pure Havane and you want to upgrade, definitely check out Naxos from XERJOFF. Then if you want to downgrade, you can try Pure Havane from Mugler. But you know, I don't know what's going on with Pure Havane. I haven't smelled the latest incarnations of it. Now that Mugler is under L'Oreal, we shall see what happened to it. The next fragrance I'm talking about is from the house of BYREDO, and this is Bal d'Afrique. One of my all-time favorite loves, and this one dates back to about 2014 once again. Really a great vetiver, but a very unisex vetiver with marigold and a few other notes thrown in, and it definitely has this brightness about it. It's a vetiver usually tends to be very masculine offering. This one, they've created a vetiver that, you know, women can totally pull it off as well. It's bright, it's earthy, it's woody, but it doesn't go like all, you know, damp and moldy kind of vetiver typically can smell like. There's brightness here, and it's a lot easier to wear, and I feel like this fragrance is perfect for spring and fall, maybe summertime as well. It's maybe a little too light for a winter wear, but the great thing about this is it's got a DNA that you can totally recognize. When I smell this, I just think of BYREDO as a house. But the cool thing about it is they have bath products. Once I was staying in a hotel in Portugal, in Lisbon, and some of the products in there smelled like this. I was like, wow, this is great. I wish I brought my fragrance. I can shower with it and also, you know, wear the fragrance. Either way, it's a great, great scent. This is Bal d'Afrique from the house of BYREDO. The next fragrance I'm going to talk to you about is a fragrance that's part of my Twisted Lily sample kit. This is Maison Francis Kurkdjian's Grand Soir. So if you've never tried Grand Soir and Intense Cafe, two different houses of course, and you want to explore some of my favorite fragrances, definitely the Twisted Lily sample kit is great. I have a link to it in the info box. But what I like about Maison Francis Kurkdjian's Grand Soir is because it's an amber, and it's also very easy to wear amber. I think it's once again focusing on benzoin. This is a great note to create ambery fragrances. And it has vanillic touches and lots of ambery touches here. And it's a great warm fragrance to wear. I discovered this in about 2016 when it first came out. I pre-ordered it and I had it and I loved it. And it's just a great, great scent. Sadly, what this became used to be another fragrance called Absolute Pour le Soir. This is Grand Soir. That fragrance is gone. That would have made the list, but since it's discontinued, I'm featuring this one because I like that one for its muskiness, a little more animalic, a little more, you know, furry, kind of fuzzy, cat-like qualities. This one is just a really easy to wear amber, I think, and it's still a solid release and still one of my favorite fragrances. It's sweet, it's spicy, it's resinous, it's balsamic, ambery, a great fragrance. Grand Soir from Maison Francis Kurkdjian. Definitely one that doesn't disappoint, and as I said, it's in my Twisted Lily kit if you're interested in checking that kit out. The next one I haven't spoken too much about. It's from the house of Amouage, but this is one of the fragrances I had featured in my 10 Fragrances for Life video dating back to like 5 years ago or 4 years ago. This is Lyric Man from Amouage, a great, great scent. It's a men's targeted, very unisex offering from Amouage, focusing on roses with lime. There's angelica, there's ginger, so it's got a zing, it's a little bit spicy, but it's a jammy rose, very jammy and limey, like lots of lime. You can totally smell the lime, and I've been using a lot of lime lately. I love tequila, so lime comes in handy for a lot of different things, salads and things like that. And it's definitely very, very prominent here. I feel like it complements the rose, the zing comes in from the ginger and also complements the other two notes, and then the angelica kind of adds this beautiful kind of a aromatic floral touch to the fragrance. A great scent. It's really, really great, and I like the fact that it's kind of gender bending, which Amouage kind of does with their fragrances. Masculine fragrances, targeted fragrances kind of go unisex or feminine, and then vice versa. I don't know. I think of them. Not all of them are like that, but several of them are. Either way, this is a great scent from Amouage, one of my most favorite fragrances, and it's called Lyric Man. And the next one I'm talking about is from the house of Tom Ford. Another one that I discovered in 2014. Same with this. It was kind of like when I first got into this hobby, I hated rose, and all of a sudden I discovered rose. And I discovered it several years prior, but I was discovering all these great rose fragrances that I was falling in love with, and this is one of them. This one was discovered around 2013, late 2013, 2014. This is Noir de Noir, but a great, great rose. Much darker rose than this Lyric Man, but beautiful, very, very beautiful. It's a chypre fragrance with lots of oak moss. There's the tuber note thrown in here, which is the truffles that grow underground. So there's an earthiness about it, but patchouli comes in, but that dark rose is just really, really beautiful. Really, it's a great scent. I always visualize Dracula with this fragrance. I don't know what it is, but something about like Dracula films. So good. And there was a time I was wearing this around 2014, 2015 so much. I would wear it and I would get lots of compliments. I was obsessed with rose around that time. Like 2014, 2015 was were my rose years, and this was definitely a top-notch fragrance for me. The next fragrance I'm going to talk to you about is Feb Delicious from the house of Dior, from the Maison Christian Dior fragrances collection, and this is one of my all-time favorite fragrances. Discovered it around 2014, 2015, somewhere around there, and still been still a fan of this one, as I love the way it smells. It focuses on the tonka beans, and it's called Delicious Bean. In French, it's Feb Delicious, and I think it's definitely exactly that. It goes into the gourmand direction with tonka beans, and of course tonka beans are also featured in something like fougères, aromatic fougères, so this is definitely the gourmand direction, and it's definitely a beautiful gourmand. It's a little syrupy and sweet, also powdery at the same time. I feel like it's more powdery and there's a sweet syrupiness under there. It's definitely a sweet experience, but as I said, it's a contrast with powderiness and some syrupiness in there. And I think definitely the star is tonka beans here with a little bit of chocolate thrown in. There's lots of lavender in here as well. I pick up a lot of aromatic notes, and it's almost like it's slightly fougère-like, because fougères are typically lavender and also tonka beans in the base, but here definitely is going in the gourmand direction. But you have lots of fruity touches in there, syrupy touches, resinous touches, vanillic touches, a beautiful combination of notes, and I think Francois Demache did a great job with this one. The other thing is I recently was speaking to somebody about this one, and they're still an associate for Dior, and there's an uncertainty about how long this fragrance is going to survive, because apparently they're kind of low on stock. I don't know if that's a pandemic issue or they're not producing it anymore. Either way, a great fragrance. I'm so in love with this particular fragrance, and I've been a fan since 2014, and I absolutely love it. Let me know if you are a fan of this one, and if you've tried it, and if you have a bottle, and how easy is it for you to get it. Anyway, that's Fève Delicieuses from the house of Dior. The last fragrance I'm going to talk to you about is Coromandel from Chanel. Boy, this is good. This is a great scent that I've been obsessed with probably around the same time, 2014, and I love it. I love the way the patchouli works in here in contrast with the resins. There's benzoin in here once again. This is a great note. And I think the benzoin with a couple of other notes kind of creates like a white chocolatey thing in here, and the contrast with the patchouli sparkliness, the earthiness, the sweetness is just a heavenly experience. Probably one of the best fragrances from the Less Exceptions collection, but I think one of the best fragrances from Chanel overall. I think it's a great scent, and it doesn't disappoint. If you love patchouli and you like kind of sweet, resinous, vanillic notes, definitely try Chanel Coromandel. And that's the last fragrance I'm going to talk to you about today. And again, don't forget this kit if you like to discover some of my fragrances. I do have Grand Soir and Intense Cafe and a few other fragrances that are in here, and there's also a surprise sample in there as well. I have a link to it in the info box. And also, before I let you guys go, don't forget my t-shirts. I've got some great t-shirts, and I have a discount code CHANNEL. It's CHANNEL, and this is Forever Vetiver. I have links to it in the info box. To my Teespring shop. This one is definitely appropriate for spring. It's Holy Neroli. This one is Patch Ho for the patchouli lover. If you love patchouli, that's one definitely you gotta wear. But this one also is really fun. I'd rather wear perfume right here. I have a link in the info box. You can go to my Teespring shop and check these out. And of course, the discount code is CHANNEL, CHANNEL. And guys, thanks so much for watching today's video. What do you think about these fragrances? As I said, these are some of my most favorite fragrances, and I'm going to update this list with some more current favorites, and then also some really older favorites and what I still think about them. But let me know if you're fans of these fragrances, if you have these fragrances, or if you've been eyeing these fragrances. Again, these are some of my older favorites with a few that are more recent, and I really love these fragrances. I think they're top-notch releases, and I love to wear. So let me know, put some comments down so I can find out. Either way, guys, thanks so much for tuning in today. If you have any questions or comments, please do list below. Otherwise, please like this video, please share it, follow me on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and I'll be back with more videos very soon. Have a good one. Goodbye.